PK Wood, we're going to be doing the last volume right now with you. And you've had this wild life. You've lived through so many things. And not only did you live through them, you ended up making a success story out of yourself. You're only 25 years old. You grew up in foster care. You had to deal with abuse at a young age. You were left abandoned at a crack house when you were 5 years old. You were involved in drive-bys. You were involved in break-ins at a very young age. You had some time in the foster system. You were adopted. You were rejected. As the adoption went, all of these things have led you to where you're at now. And so we were going to discuss what it is to have a feeling of self-worth and feeling deserving of something. And I'm sure you've struggled with that when you were growing up, because you had these situations where, like I said, you were abandoned at 5 years old by your mom. Your dad was never really around, so there's a sense of possible rejection there. You go and you live with a family for a year, and then because you refuse to take their last name in hopes that your mom would come back and be able to find you with your original last name, they got upset and sent you back to the foster home that you were at. And at 6 years old, you're having to process this concept of rejection. And so where was it that you felt that you weren't worthy of love? And then where was it when you realized that you were?
I mean, never feeling worthy was a huge part of my adolescence and young adulthood, because I never understood why my mom wasn't there and why she left. And so for those 13 years, it was a lot of just asking why, creating different scenarios as to why she did what she did. And it wouldn't help when I was adopted. I had an adopted brother, and we would often fight and say hurtful things. And a trigger he would tell me, because I was also very obese and I was pre-diabetic for 5 years as a young child.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "You're fat, that's why your mom left you."
Oh.
And then we'd just go at it and start getting physical. We'd start fighting, start cursing each other out. And it was a very toxic relationship through the years growing up. And so hearing hurtful words from family, and then even growing up in the neighborhood, we lived in Section 8 housing, and you just have a bunch of young kids that live with subpar environments, and a lot of us would just meet at the park and start fighting and just say hurtful things. That was the first time I'd ever gotten called racial slurs, and I didn't even know what those meant.
Right.
And so I felt a lot of things attributed to negative self-talk, and I just tell myself that I was those racial slurs, or that's probably why my mom left. And a lot of those negative instances distorted my thinking about myself. And so I'd take that out by eating food. So I just stuffed myself with as much food, or I used to steal, because part of that also operated off scarcity and
Right.
not having resources, not knowing where my next meal was going to come from, not knowing where my shelter was going to be. So I just began to eat when I didn't understand how to communicate. I would eat, and eventually I hit being up to over 300 pounds in middle school.
Wow.
And so it took a long time, and for me it was personal growth and development classes that got me to the point where I could start that reflective work and that work inside, and start to understand that I am worthy, that despite everything I've ever endured and been through, that even through it all, it wasn't that I wasn't worthy of love. It was just that I didn't get that type of love that I needed at that time, and that I'm also capable of giving myself that love that I never gave.
And so you were using food as an antidote, but it was the poison for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to cure yourself with the poison. And that's a program that you ended up forming around food, which as well exacerbated the program that you have of not feeling worthy, right? You're processing it as, well, if only I were in better shape, then my mom would love me, wouldn't have given me up. That has to affect every other relationship that you're in. What ways do you feel like that costed you something in these other relationships?
Anytime I had a disagreement or arguments with people and I didn't know how to solve it, or if it made me feel anxious or any type of, I'd say, negative emotion, I would resort to food as my comfort.
Yeah.
And the food that I was eating wasn't nutritional food. I didn't
Right.
understand. I didn't know what nutrition was. So it was Twinkies, Kit Kats, Crunch Bars, Kit Kats, all processed, chemical infested foods.
So you're not hiding your feelings with a salad.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that definitely
mean
doesn't sound enticing.
Salad's not coping mechanism food? That's odd.
A nice soup,
Campbell's.
actually.
Yeah.
that leaked CEO from anyway. No. So back on topic. I mean, what is it costing you with this? I mean, it sounds like you're circling the drain, right? You're exacerbating your problems. Things are getting worse for you because of the cycle that you've put yourself in. So you're attempting to cope by eating extremely unhealthy foods, right? You're going through this cycle of eating unhealthy to suppress the feelings that you're feeling about yourself and your lack of self-worth. And that's leading you to eat unhealthy foods, which causes you to gain weight, which causes you to think even worse about yourself. And it's getting so much so to the point where you're telling yourself that if you were in better shape, your mom wouldn't have given you up. You're telling yourself that if you were more deserving of love, that none of this stuff would have happened to you that you went through in your life. How is that affecting all of your other relationships? In one of the previous volumes, you had made mention of bleeding on other people from your wounds. Where is that spilling onto other people?
Yeah. Man, I mean, throughout all of those years, that food and the unhealthy eating, that was just one coping skill that I would use, and it wasn't a healthy coping skill.
Right.
And so I also would self-harm during that time as well. And so I had both of those unhealthy coping skills, or I'd fight, or I'd smoke weed, or I'd drink and try to numb myself out to not feel those emotions. And it wasn't until I got into football that was an outlet onto where I could physically express those emotions.
Right.
And a year that was very impactful for me was my freshman year of high school, because that was the first year I was able to really stay out of the house and be at school and be outside and be around peers my age. And that freshman year, over the summer, eighth grade leading into freshman year, we had a summer camp, and we'd work out 4 times a week, 4 times a day. And I remember that this, in my head, all I could think about was that this is the moment that I've been waiting for to lose weight. And so for every workout outside, for every lift inside, I would wear 2 pairs of everything. 2 pairs of socks, underwear, shorts, shirts, just as much layers as I could so I'd sweat more.
Yeah.
And that summer alone, I lost 70 pounds.
Wow.
And I felt so great about myself.
Yeah.
All the way until the end of my freshman year. And then I got to sophomore, junior, senior year, and then I was told, "Oh, okay, I'm going to be an offensive lineman, so I need to gain weight."
Okay.
And I didn't understand nutrition and what they meant by gain weight. So then I started eating more like I used to.
Right.
And doing so, I got back up to an unhealthy weight just to fit a criteria. And then I started to realize, after that, then I went to go play college ball at a small school in Nebraska, got back up to 280, and that's where I played. And then after quitting that, I lost all my weight again, and I lost 80 pounds or over 80 pounds. And that was very fulfilling. And it was me being able to look at myself and be able to be proud of what I've done, and that I no longer had to do something for somebody else to meet a criteria, that I can set my own standards and work to get the body that I want because I deserve it.
You're using food as a coping mechanism, and it's just creating a cycle for you where you're eating because of your feelings. That food, because it's unhealthy food, is causing you to gain more weight, which is affecting your sense of self-worth. This has to be playing a role in your life outside of just weight fluctuation and such, and feelings of self-worth being so low. What specific relationships was it affecting besides the relationship that you have with yourself?
I mean, it was affecting my parental relationship, because I didn't feel that I had the safe space to be able to open up and express myself emotionally in the household. So I would then choose to food to cope. So because I wasn't heard, because I wasn't validated by my adoptive mother, I would choose food instead to cope, to validate me.
So you're eating food to cope with your feelings of a lack of self-worth. The food that you're eating is not healthy, so it's costing you because you're getting heavier, which is exacerbating your feelings of lack of self-worth. Not feeling deserving of love, I'm sure, played a role in it. Your negative self-talk, your lack of confidence, that has to be affecting you in other relationships. What was it costing you to not love and believe in yourself?
Yeah, my lack of self-love prevented me from truly establishing relationships where I could be authentically myself,
Yeah.
because I didn't feel deserving of relationships where people love me. Because in my head, I put up the walls to keep people out, because I thought to myself, well, if my own biological mother couldn't love me, then nobody else could.
Right.
So I'd call it imposter syndrome, if you will.
Right.
And I would choose to fit a narrative that a lot of people would like and understand,
Right.
instead of be who I truly felt.
And that's where that egoic front gets put up, right? Rather than being confident, instead you create this caricature of who you want to be. And so instead you become cocky. And most people that are filled with ego have no idea how unappealing that is to the average person. I've been guilty of it. I'm not here throwing stones. I'm just saying, with a lot of the things that I've had to unpack in my mind, in my life, in the history of Eddie, that's definitely one of them. That I used to hate myself as well. And, you know, if anybody attempted to talk to me the way that I would talk to myself, we're throwing hands. Like, you don't disrespect me. I'm excusing my poor behavior towards myself. And so, all that being said, it's extremely off-putting, right? And so then you're continuing that self-fulfilling prophecy of, well, people don't like me because I don't deserve love. At what point did you finally shed that lack of trust, and you got rid of the concepts of not being deserving of love, and then you allowed the real PK Wood to come out?
Yeah, well, I realized that it wasn't my fault that I got treated the way I did.
Right.
And when I started to show glimpses of who I was and take that leap of courage to just be myself, I noticed that people preferred that version rather than the version that was faking. And that when I chose authenticity, that's when all those real people that truly care and love about me started to show up for me, when I allowed them to, and I let those walls down and I worked to be vulnerable with them.
100%. And too many times I had to hear, oh, PK Wood's going to be here, or oh, this guy PK Wood, like he's a legend. Like, no joke, because the way that you carry yourself, the things that you've survived, the things that were given to you and not in a positive way, you turned into being massive strengths. And so at some point, that hero inside of you had to step in and say, no, I cannot be stopped. I will not be stopped. And I'm going to take that first step. So at what point was it that you had that breaking point where you just said, no, I need to show up for me?
Yeah. I had reached a point where I was suicidal, and I wasn't okay. I wasn't PK. I didn't feel I was ready to just end it all.
Right.
'Cause at that point, I felt like it'd be much easier if I just give up and just go out with everything I've been through and not fight through it.
Right.
And for me, it was prayer. Religion was very distorted for me growing up.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you've ever felt the Holy Spirit or something overcome you.
100%.
And that's what I felt in that moment. And it was just like a voice talking to me.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, like I had the recognition that, wow, I've been through all this stuff and I'm still alive.
Yeah.
So am I really supposed to end my life because things are hard right now? And it was like, well, what if you just think back to everything that you've been through?
Yeah.
And look at what you've gone through and look at who you have. Look at your support.
Well, and there's also this crazy thing that if you reach that point where you're suicidal, and if anybody's listening right now that is at that point, you don't have to end it. You can drastically change your life. You can drastically behave differently and get different results. You don't have to end it. Right now, you might be in a cycle in your brain where you're feeling hopeless. You're feeling like there's no brighter tomorrow. But you just have to push through. And if you behave extremely differently in a positive way, you will get those results. They will come. And so to anyone who's in that headspace right now, do something different. Go hug a stranger tomorrow. Go smile to people. Don't do negative stuff. Don't be in a negative headspace. Random smiles at strangers. Compliment people. I love doing that. Do you know how many dudes at Walmart or Target I've been like, I don't mean to be weird, sir. You smell fantastic. Because they have a cologne on. Or I'm like, dude, that is the cleanest fade. Where do you get your haircut at? And especially they lighten right up when they're with their girl and a random man pays them acknowledgement that they're doing something right. Watch the way that they light up. But you can be outward focused and it's going to be everything inside of you.
I would say that to somebody who's in that headspace, because I think at some point in time, all of us have been there. Something has felt overwhelming.
Absolutely.
And to the point where it's unbearable. And I think in a lot of the personal development space communities that I've been in, one of the things that has seemingly rung through all of them is that it's temporary. Pain is temporary. Pleasure is temporary. Everything is temporary. The pendulum will swing both ways. And then when I was younger, somebody who is still very important to me in my life would drill into my head every time that came up, or we'd hear about someone who had done that, someone that was in our lives. That there's always a better way. It's temporary. The way you feel right now is temporary. It may not seem like at the moment it is temporary, and there's always a better way.
Well, and there is no good nor bad. There just is. These are your results. Often harsh, always fair. So if you don't like the result that you're getting, create a different action. Do something differently to see different results. whether it be framing your thoughts in a different way, behaving in a different way. Kick the booze, kick the drugs, go to the gym, have some discipline in your life. Because I will bet that most people that are in that headspace, and correct me if I'm wrong, either one of you, but when you were in that headspace, you were not disciplined with yourself. You were not governing yourself. You were living hedonistically, right? Your hedonic set point was different. And so when you weren't getting those hits of dopamine, there you are. Now, life's just not worth living.
Mm-hmm.
So change it, right? But you do need to create that sense of self-worth and speak better to yourself. Went through a rough breakup. Every morning, the first thing I would say, I would roll out of bed and I would go, I am happy, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am smart, I am brilliant, I'm sexy, I'm deserving. And I would say it over and over and over again. And it was stupid and it was annoying, but I forced myself to do it. I'd get up, I'd drink some coffee, I'd meditate, I'd pet my dog, I'd go to the gym. I'd leave the gym, I'd get a salad, I'd come home, I'd shower, and then I'd take on the day. I needed different results. I behaved differently. I lost weight, I gained muscle, and I have a sense of clarity that I've never had. I've turned my life around. I am now in a phenomenal relationship with brilliant communication and love, and everything changed. Now, in that moment, was I suicidal? No. Did I have a thought or two? We all do. We're human. However, like you said, I've been through too much to give up. I've had too many mortars land far enough away that I survived. Bullets not hit me. Guns not firing when they're pointed directly at my head. That's a game changer right there, right? But I've survived too many things to take myself out. I love me now. I couldn't do the things that I do if I didn't love myself. And when you love yourself and then you love other people will 100% love you. There is something different when you smile at a person and you put your arms out like this and you go in for the hug. Everyone in that room will be like, who is this guy and why is he so happy? And then they want to be a part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Change your results by changing your actions. Love yourself. If you could tell somebody right now one thing that you learned in your journey to loving yourself, what is it?
To have grace for myself. That I am human. That I am going to make mistakes. That I am going to screw up. And it's okay. Because I can always choose to learn from those mistakes and apply the knowledge moving forward.
Are you going to tell yourself that tomorrow?
Most definitely.
Oh, man. PK, thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.